Hello everyone, Fayahuna here from Time to Talk Mental Health Hub. Today I have a wonderful guest who is Jack, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, which is just inspiring, this name and this everything. So I can't wait to go straight into it. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Jack, and just let us know about everything that you've done, your journey and why, and what the future's holding for you.
Okay. Right, I'm a national statistic. I've just left it. I'm 50 now. I found and acquainted with the negative side of my mental health 2 years ago, where to this day, it was the March the 9th, bizarrely now, 2019, I woke up in the worst place of my life. I'd had a serious which was now being diagnosed as a serious dissociation episode through a syndrome that I have because of PTSD, which occurred on the night of the 8th as I was coming home from a night out where I lost half an hour of my life. But going back really, that's where I came from now and really understood that I had mental health problems. And I've gone on a journey over the last 2 years, which has took me from realizing I've got PTSD after seeing psychologists and cognitive behavior therapists and speaking to Healthier Minds and the practitioner nurse and receiving medication and dealing with my intrusive thoughts, the darkness, everything that came out from that day, really, that I'd been bottling it up for at least 5 years. And looking back in hindsight now, which is what I do, I've looked at the path of me deteriorating since probably my early to mid 40s through physiological feelings of stiffness, aches, grinding teeth, night sweats, to toxic lifestyle, binge drinking, getting myself involved in toxic relationships, disassociation from my family. And this was a 5-year build-up, really, and it accumulated up to 2 years today, where I woke up in a mess. And then I walked down to the doctors and was eventually seen and prescribed medication, like I've said, and which took me on a journey through therapy, and which bizarrely was the self-healing side of it, which came soon after. I live near Saddleworth Moor, and I was told to get out walking, clear my head, and literally just try and relax, because I was a crumpled up ball of a mess. I was in a fetal position at the doctor's, sweating, crying to this practice nurse that I'd never met, and I didn't know where my life was going. I had intrusions of train tracks and wanted to jump in front of them, and it was a really dark place. What came then, which I never expected, was once I'd cleared my head, I started thinking in very much rhythm and rhyme and writing all my thoughts down. And that was probably 2019, about the middle to end of April. And I was just started to write words down. I bought a book, I started a journal, went on Google, this is what kind of helps you. And then I started writing poetry. I didn't know why. I just started writing. I've always had an interest in music. A lot of friends are in bands, and I've got a keen interest when it comes to music and the lyrical side of it. And I started putting these words into small stories, and it became quite rhythmic and poetic, for want of a better phrase. And that went on for a few weeks to a month or two. And then I had the courage to show them to a couple of friends of my family who gave me very good feedback. And I took it to open mic nights. And this was June, July 2019. So not too far after. And I was still feeling quite fragile and in a bit of a state then, but I needed something to give me a boost and keep my mind occupied. So I did a few open mic nights. And on the back of that, I got good feedback. And I kind of got a couple of gigs out of it in Manchester around the Northern Quarter. A couple of friends that were promoters said, "Oh, I like what you're doing. We'll get you on." So I had to get a name, and that's when Leon the Pig Farmer was formed. It's a name from a 1992 film of a Jewish guy that inherits a pig farm. So it's kind of a fish out of water, somebody who's in an arena, an environment that they're not supposed to be in, which is kind of a link to where I was. But it's also a name that I was, which I'll go on to in a minute, but I served time in the army, and it was a name that my friend used as a bit of a cover. He's a West Country guy, and he told everyone his name was Leon and that he was a pig farmer. So it was kind of an ode to him and to the military times. So Leon the pig farmer was formed or born. And then I went on a journey of about 7 or 8 months before lockdown, where I did lots of gigs supporting really good bands around Manchester. Kind of got the eye of a few people, did a little bit of radio, and it progressed on from there, and it was going really well up until lockdown. That curtailed everything, and we've kind of been ticking along ever since. And now I'm coming out the other side. I'm kind of booked up July, August. My highlight is going to be supporting Peter Hook of New Order in October this year at Macclesfield Festival with a few other bands that I know. And it's going from strength to strength. It's really good. I'm just grasping every opportunity I can get, really, and taking it from there. I could keep talking. If you can, I appreciate that. I can keep going, but I'm juggling between where I'm going to go here, because I've been given the biggest open question ever. But my writing is all around my mental health. A lot of it that I started with is around the demons. It's around hallucinations and panic attacks in the middle of the night. A lot of it is quite graphic. It's very straight talking. I'm a working class lad from a council estate in Yorkshire, and I write in very simple, plain English, with a few analogies, a little bit of a metaphor in there. I use some alliteration, which all this I've kind of learned through my journey of the last 2 years of writing, and from not really studying English at school. I've got a keen interest in it, and it gives me boundaries. It gives me a sense of getting up in the morning and observing the world totally different to how I used to. And I write all my thoughts down, and I continue to this day. And I'm a firm believer that creativity is one of the great healers of any form of mental health. I've started this year a new project called Talking Myself Out of Trouble, which is going to be the name of my first book, which I intend to get out in May, which is a collection of 25 poems around my mental health. And I'm doing it with my friend who's an ex-alcoholic, who's doing all the artwork, because he's an absolutely brilliant artist. And we're going to do a collaboration. And at the end of it, I'm going to put a few little bits of lyrics I've done for verse with a collaboration I've done around music. So I keep busy around it now. And the Talking Myself Out of Trouble is literally getting in touch with charities and mental health groups like I approached yourselves, and saying, I've got a story. I'd love to inspire somebody else to, if they're in a rut, if they can't see that light at the end of the tunnel, is to listen to what I've gone through. Just my story might resonate in some way, which it has done when I've performed and people have come and spoke to me. But my personal story might be totally different to your reason why you have anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, or any other form of mental health illness. But the way that I've grasped it and I've dealt with it, hopefully could inspire somebody to, not necessarily like me, pick up a pen and take this creative journey and go up this serious learning curve that I have and took it to the extremes, but just to write or to paint or to build or to sculpt or talk or play a tune, anything which someone can migrate to, which can help them give their life some structure, some well-being, and give them a sense of importance, and that they're doing something in their life which is not prescribed through a doctor. It's more social prescribing and doing something and getting out and communicating with other people. Because I've met some wonderful people on this journey, people who I would never met if I hadn't picked up a pen. And I think a lot of people who can't find help through conventional medical channels, which I'm not a specialist, so I can't say don't do it. But once you've leveled and you need longevity in maintaining your mental health, certainly look into the creative world, because it can help you so much. So yeah, that is my story. I've kind of covered it all, apart from saying that I did 10 years in the British Army. I left home at 17. I got accepted to college, but I didn't want to do it. And I joined the army, did it for 10 years. And during that time, I served 5 in Northern Ireland, 2.5 year tours. I did work attached to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So I'd worked in Angola and Rwanda doing security and being attached to the Foreign Office and the British Embassy, where I'd seen trauma and contact situations, and like I had in Ireland. So that 10 years were the formative years of my trauma, where I've been bombed, shot, mortared, and experienced a lot of hostility. And that was harboured for over 20 years. And it manifested in very much an isolated lifestyle, no commitment to relationships, very transient, moving house a lot. And eventually when it got to my 40s, and your brain is like a muscle, and like every part of the body, as you get older, it gets a little bit weaker and it can't retain it. My container overflowed, and that's it. Happened 2 years today. So yeah, that's my story.
Wow. Well, congratulations on your journey being today your, would you say an anniversary? I feel like that's the wrong word to call it, but
yeah, it's the only word that kind of comes to mind. It is an anniversary, I guess. I goes, can you get negative celebrate? Well, I celebrate it. It is an anniversary because soon after, my parents said everything happens for a reason, and it did. It needed to happen. If it hadn't have happened, I could have gone into my 50s. It could have manifested itself into heart problems, strokes. It could have gone into more suicidal thoughts. It could have gone into more excessive drinking. So it did happen for a reason. And I do celebrate that it did happen, because if it hadn't have happened and I'd have continued that juggernaut for a few more years, I don't know where I would have ended up. So it is a celebration. I did wake up in the pit of my life, but I was lucky. I was in a decent frame of mind soon after, because I had a lot of family support, that I was able to pick myself up and take myself on this journey that I'm on now, as in Jack, and the creative side that I do with Leon. So yeah, I do celebrate it. I've had a lot of contact of family and a few friends of it last night saying, how are you feeling? Because it started on the Friday night, Friday the 8th, and into today. And it's been very supportive. So it kind of is an anniversary. It's the day my life changed. So I should celebrate that, I think.
Oh, 100%. How are you feeling now? I mean, I know there's been COVID, but it sounds like you've been extremely busy with the book and with booking yourself. So obviously with your journey, so it's only been 2 years, and in 2 years, there's a lot happened to you. And obviously COVID hitting you, like a lot of people may have had mental health before COVID, and then COVID's happened, and that's not really been the best for anyone. Yeah. So how have you been coping through that?
Well, the year before COVID, I kind of went through a phase of initially alcohol abstinence and pulling myself away from certain aspects of my life. So not into isolation level, but certainly minimalizing certain aspects of my social contact. It was about self-preservation and something I needed to do, because I'm one of the worst people when it comes to peer pressure. I break so easily and want to please and want to do stuff. I have been referred to as an elf before, which is easily led effer. So you're an elf. I know I am. I never put up with much resistance, especially when a party and alcohol was involved. So I had to, for self-preservation, remove myself from a lot of areas. And I think I kind of half went into a lockdown the year before lockdown. So I'd done a lot of walking. I'd got myself, kept myself fairly fit, but I'd got myself into a good, healthy state of mind. I'd been out walking on the tops of the hills. I'd stayed in a lot more. So I kind of, for the year before, I was halfway to being locked in anyway. And then when lockdown occurred, I kind of celebrated it, because I was still having the odd little lapse and going out on the odd binge, and it meant I couldn't. So I kind of embraced it. I just used it time to write more. I used it as time to find myself more and look at everything and implement everything I'd learned in my therapy about grounding and dealing with. I had space to deal with any sort of anxiety attacks and any panics and anything that occurred. I had that time to deal with it because there was no work, there was nothing in my way. I had the time to focus, so I kind of enjoyed it, especially at the beginning. I must admit this last one has been different, and I think it has for a lot of people. It's darker months. It's drearier. There doesn't seem to be an end goal. It's like you've been dropped, picked up, dropped again, and it's a bit like that water torture treatment that it's like it keeps on going. How long is it going to last? How are we going to be able to get out? And I think that's kind of where the problem is lying on this occasion. So I have found it a little bit harder. But I think that's when I decided that I was going to start reaching out to charities. And I can't perform. There's nowhere to perform. There's only so many people doing Zoom festivals, or I can do Zoom performances without it becoming, this is me thinking now, repetitive, but it doesn't, because the people always seem to give good feedback. But it's just my negativity that thinks I don't want to keep doing too much. So it was kind of like the book was definitely a distraction of getting the verse together and proofreading it and getting my artwork done through a friend, but also taking this new project on, which is the talking myself out of trouble and reaching out to a lot of charities and speaking to people and joining Zoom calls for men's mental health groups, like a couple that I've done through Healthier Heroes up in Burnley, which is a homeless charity place for ex-veterans who get involved in other creative stuff. They've kind of got like I don't know if it's classed as a hostel. It's a place where they live and they get into rehabilitation for drinking drugs. So I've been doing some kind of Zoom meetings with them. I've been going on some Zoom calls and offering my creativity to a group down south called Man Gang, and little things like that, really, which helps me because I'm on a Zoom call doing something different, but it gives me that opportunity to share my journey and the positivities around it.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I've kind of, once Christmas was out of the way and we were into the quiet months, I kind of gripped that and started looking at how in other ways I can assist. And that's how I came to doing this, really.
So what I was thinking is, have you got any advice on, because I know that when I've talked to some people, there is different ways of being creative, but yours is writing and yours is writing rhymes and spoken words. Have you got any advice of how people can get into it? What helps you, or any creative sort of, mainly with mental health, is there anything sort of, any advice really for people to start off and have a go?
I had no literacy training. It's a case of, I think it's like music. What is good, what is not good music. I think it's a case of just getting your thoughts down and writing. I don't stick to any official form of literacy style poetry. I write down my thoughts and then I put it into some sort of structure, which is like a story. I always give it like an introduction of where I'm going with it, and then the body of the verse, which is what's either in my head, which is a problem or a situation or what's going on in my life. And I always conclude it with a positive story, because the writing has helped me. If I kind of leave it in a negative place, then the format and the journey of writing those words hasn't worked if I finish it on a negative end. So if it has finished on a negative end, then I really need to work on where am I going with these thoughts and this process. So I just say to people, if you want to get involved with, especially the writing side, there's no strict format. You could write fiction. You could turn your words into a story. I fell into this poetry thing, I think, more because of the lyrical content and keeping it punchy and short. But I'd say just write. If you can't write and you can't get your words out into written format, get a little bit of canvas or a bit of paint and draw what you were thinking. There's lots of different forms, I think, that you can express what the darkness or whatever's going on, or the frustrations that's going on in your head. But just write. I don't think you should stick to rules. I don't think there should be a way to say, I did this, so that's work. So that's that's the template to work for. Jack the Pig Leon says that worked for him, so that will work for me. It won't. I don't think it will. It will be somewhere you could use the spine and the framework of what I've done, but I don't think my style would suit everybody, because my writing and the way I do it, it's very punky, it's very aggressive, I come from an era of growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, and a lot of the bands that influenced are of that generation. And I liked in the 80s, the first wave of hip hop. So I think I kind of take my influences from that era. A younger person or somebody that of a different background, sex or whatever would maybe find influences in someone totally different. So I think writing, whatever you write out your head, is a start. So just offloading it and reading it back, engaging it, is that a really big problem? Because when it's in your head and it's not filtered or sifted out, it's a problem that will then manifest, and it will get worse and it will get worse and it will snowball. Whereas if you do offload it out of your mind and you release it out of that container, as they call it, it's on the paper. You can look at it and assess it and go, is it as severe? Is it as bad as what I think it is? Can I deal with it? And when you're looking on a piece of paper, it could be looking at it like a third party article, that if it was somebody else, it's always easier to solve someone else's problems out than it is your own. And because when you're in the middle of it, you add emotion to it. Whereas when it's on a bit of paper, it could effectively be anybody's. So deal with it as if it was someone else, and give that person and give that bit of paper advice. What would you do if that was your mate? And I think that is the way that I attacked it. And because when it's in your head, it's there's so much other emotion of the other side of anxiety and depression, which goes with it. The sense of ill well-being, the sense of no worth, the nobody likes me, I'm useless, and all that. When you're trying to process thoughts in your own head, those things pollute your decision making. Whereas if it's on a piece of paper and you have got them thoughts out and you want to give advice to another person, you will give it in a third party context. So you can give that advice as it's an independent, totally irrelevant piece to yourself. And whatever advice you give that person or that piece of paper is going to be good. So use it and then do what it says on the paper rather than what's swirling around in your head, and read it back and gauge it. On a scale of 1 to 10, is it really that bad? I still get it now. I have a couple of drinks. I sometimes have a couple of glasses of wine, and the next day I feel so guilty because alcohol was a big problem with me, and it manifests into a big panic and anxiety attack the next day. I just write it down and go, did really having a couple of glasses of wine? You didn't smash the bottle. You didn't then go on the whiskey. You didn't then go out and have 10, 15 pints like you would do on a Saturday. So is it really that bad? No, it's not. If someone came to you and went, I feel really bad, I'm on a Weight Watchers, or I'm on this, or I'm on that, and I had a couple of glasses of wine, I'd tell that person, it's not that really bad. Go for a run the next day. It's not bad. You've got the rest of your life to get rid of them calories, or you've got all the rest of the week to dry out. It's not bad. But when it's in your head, it causes a big panic attack, because I'm trying to stop one of the problems which caused me serious depression and anxiety. And it's not bad. It's not. And I laugh at it the next day once I've written it out and gone, yeah, if I was giving my mate guidance, I'd say, oh, don't worry about it, mate. It's not the end of the world. But when it's in your head, it could be.
Do you know what? I've never thought about doing that. And now I am definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
I'd love to think of it as like you're giving your friend advice, because we don't do that to ourselves. You'll put yourself down like, you are your biggest worst enemy over the listeners think, and you tell your friends the opposite. You'd be like, oh mate, like, so that is such, I'm going to use that now. I really
write it down, and it'll just look like a text from your best mate who's had a bit of a guilt trip and thought really bad, and you can give him advice, and you're giving yourself advice, because when it's on a piece of paper, it could just look like an email or a computer screen text or a WhatsApp message, and look at it in its context of exactly what it is, not that it's been in your head.
No, I think that's wow. I've never thought it's so simple.
Yeah, it is. And nobody taught me that. It was something I went on Google, write your thoughts down, but the analysing and feeding it back back up the process corridor is something that I do regularly now. And I think it comes out in my verse as well, that I'm never preachy. I'm like, this is my story. This is about the demons. This is about the devil that was on my shoulder telling me to drink a load more. I'll give you the poem. You tell me what you think. Extract whichever bits of the verse you want from it. And if you can take some positivity and go, yeah, I can relate to that. And then let's work on from there. So
have you actually got a favorite poem
that
you've wrote?
I have, yeah. I've got a couple that will always have been in a performance set, and I really like them because they're sharp, they're edgy, and they're succinct and straight to the point, and they get the message across. They do what they say on the tin.
So, can we have a performance or not?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, it's crazy because with doing a lot of performances, and this is another way. The reason where I go is I rehearse once or twice a week, and I've got 35 in my head, so I don't read off book. I said this when I came back, and I got a couple of gigs a year and a half ago. I said, right, I'm going to do it like a proper performance, like a band, but without a band. I'm just going to be literally a front man, just there with a microphone. There's going to be an air of silence, which is going to be my backing music. And I'm going to just literally give you verse. So when I do two back to back, they last around 2.5 minutes. So if you put a bit of an intro and an outro, it's the same length as a song, to be honest. So yeah, I've got 35 in my head. So yeah, I'll give you one or two. Yeah, we've got plenty of time, haven't we?
Yeah, go for it. I'm ready. I've been dying to ask you the whole time. I'm like, I really, really, really want to hear one. Yeah, give us one or two, and then I won't take too much of your time.
Do I need to give a trigger public health warning that there will be swearing, or do I have to bleep the swearing?
I've already swore when we did this. I've already swore.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. I swear in all of them an accident I do. I'm like, no kids allowed.
Right, okay. Well, if there is a kid, I'm going to tell you now, cover your kids' ears up, because I'll find an excuse and use a different word. So this one is two back to get back, and it's called The Monkey and the Devil.
Okay, I'm listening. Let's go.
And there was one line in this which is Japanese, which is Saro Mokikara Achiru, which means even a monkey falls from a tree. It's a Japanese proverb. So that is towards the end, and it's the bridge between the first and the second one. So it's the monkey and the devil. There is the geezer with a long leather coat, a red paisley bandana that covers his throat. He wears a tilted trilby and eyes so vicious. Do you know he lurks in the corner of my subconscious? He's a waiter to the world of my emotional dysfunction. He serves ready meals to my personal destruction. I accept his twisted, malevolent suggestion. And oh yeah, I dine on guilt and a bottle of correction. But when did I let him decide? Wait for the bill to restore my pride. You see, this menu, it reads like an old damaged story with every attempt to remove life's glory. Well, this is Twilight Crazy Town. Why should I pay with my voice and sound? I dig deep and I delve for my 9 out of 10. It's a 3-course thoughts to feelings and then actions, but I will win. So I stop. And I reflect and I don't collaborate or even reject. I'm intrusive. I ask my thoughts why, and I don't contemplate or listen to lies. So did they serve you? Did they get in the way? Did they deserve you? Can those thoughts stay? So don't be ashamed of what you've done. Be punching proud of what you've become. I confront stories of a tiger and hunter, of milk and honey, and they make me wonder. There was a pauper farmer and a broken son. I saw the wild horses and what the army had done. See, I fold paper into fighter planes because they're flying fucks to help not blame. I won't let the cash cow grind me down. I'm going to take back my orb and the thornless crown. I will pour water on your flames of suppression. I'll pour petrol on hope so you burn with passion. I'll restore your cracks with glistening gold because you're a unique history and a story to be told. Because this reaper, he sits with a rusty blade. He's frowning, he's cowering because our futures are made. So I've got a message for all of you. Saromokikara Achiru, because even a monkey falls from a tree. Even I fell from a tree. Even you could fall from a tree. Because my heart is now presented without a black and tortured soul, and I'm instructing Lucifer to go and ride on home. I will unhinge and remove myself from the ebony cross. I extract those nails one by one, and my hands will be held aloft. So come on then, Diablo, let your dog off the leash. I'm going to stare into its gaping jaws and break its frigging teeth. My black sheep fingers are burnt. They're still placed on a trigger. And you're a darkened silhouette. Oh yeah, but you're a lonely standing figure. So here we are, old Nick. I'm not afraid of this. I will grip you. I will choke you. I will silence your snake hiss. I will escort you from the party and vanquish you because this is my life. And you think you can extinguish my candle in the night? Because you sit there, darkened prince. You think you can shine brighter. Well, I'm the fierce dog now. I'm a battler and I'm a fighter. And I will not be imprisoned or suffering a golden silence. These cemetery gates are ripped open and I'm going to dance without a shyness. So let's sit here now, Baphomet. You've played your final ace. I'm healing. You're deceiving. So I spit in your effing face. Thank you.
Oh my God. Woo, that was amazing. Oh my God.
Kind of drains you. But yeah, that's 2 back to back.
That was amazing. I'm not joking. I was getting back in my seat. I know no one's gonna be able to see me anyway, but I was going back and back. That was amazing. And then final lines. Oh, you got me. I had goosebumps. I had goosebumps. That was amazing. And you remembered that whole God, that's a bloody talent. And you thought of all them words and you changed the pitch and the tempo and wow.
Yeah.
It's
a lot more aggressive when I do it on the stage with a mic, but yeah, that's the gist of it. It's that's the monkey and the devil.
Wow. And any story behind that apart from what I can think of?
The first one is literally around the Grim Reaper, the devil. It's just trying to give metaphors towards a demon and having those really guilty, dark thoughts and then getting over it and saying, "Look, I don't give a shit here. I'm going to take you on. I'm going to douse petrol on fires. I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to if you try coming at me, I'm going to hose you down like a rioter. I'm going to take you on because I know that even if I fell from a tree, I can pick myself up. And even if a monkey can do it and fall, I can fall. And I'm going to pick myself up and take you on." And then it goes into the devil, which is basically me saying, "Look, you've been rattling around my head too long, mate. You're going. I've had enough of you. I'm really going to take you on this time. And me and you are going to go toe to toe. You can have that black dog and you can bark in my ear as much as you want, mate. But I'm going to become the dog and I'm going to bark louder and I'm going to show my teeth more fierce than what you are. And you're going to scurry off into a corner because you're literally just a coward in my mind. So get lost, mate." So that's how it is.
I love it. Do you know what I feel? I'm not even saying the words you are. I feel so empowered. And what you're saying is what we're all thinking, but we're all too scared to say it. And you're saying it. So when people listen to you, they'll be like, "Oh my God, this guy's making sense." You are going to, wow, I can't wait to see you live. This is going to be amazing.
It's crazy. Every time I go on stage, I do go, "Yeah, I'm Jack Hamley on the Pig Farmer." This is one about me being messed up, being mentally ill, needing to talk. It's time to talk, boys and girls. Let's get it out there. And I've got no stigma. I've took me nighttime citralopram on stage before. There should be no stigma of anything. And I just break down as many barriers as I can and go, "I'm an ex-squaddie. I've been in some tough war zones. I'm taking medication. Doesn't have to be tough. You don't have to be whatever. I'm just telling you how it is that I'm talking. I'm being that snowflake lavender person." It's like, and these are the names that people get. And it's
I know they do, and it's just you hear it's horrible. It's just
and it's absolutely horrible. And then once I go up there and say these words that I've served my country, I've done some pretty horrible places, and I've been that macho bullshit person, but I'm standing in front of you and bearing my soul. So this is more about my inner strength, which totally outweighs anything I've done before. So if you want to come and talk to me afterwards, do. And I think I must say at least every gig, especially a fella, has come up to me and gone, "Wow, man, I'm in my 40s like you. You have just basically mirrored my life and you're going to help me talk." And some guys have gone on and done their own writing. Some guys have gone on and talked to people. And if I can walk out of there and get one person who's going to go off and talk to someone or go change their path, it's job done to me. It's job done. Yeah.
God,
because I wish someone had been there to say to me, like, "Look, lad, it's all right being this stoic northern council estate lad who joined the army and who likes to show this sort of like swagger and this
No,
face.
no.
But you don't need to have it anymore, mate. We're in the 21st century. Let it go.
That's what we need. And I think that's what you're
Yeah.
doing, is you're saying, I just think that it's crazy how this isn't something that's so normal. But I think what you're doing is incredible. And my question was literally going to be, have people come up to you and said, wow, that hit home? And you've just answered my question, because people will be sitting there, and there'll be actually more than one person. There'll be people sitting there.
There is.
Who will just be thinking it, and they might still go home. You're making a difference. And I think and I'm so glad you've done it. And I wish more people did it. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of taking the piss out of each other for stuff like this. No, like Snowflake. People still use that word, and that's like a fucking old word that people say.
I had a conversation with my niece at the weekend, and she's 17 in a month or so, and we were just chatting and about the difference in generations and things like that, and I was just saying to her how her generation gets such bad press from the general public and people my age about calling them names, because she said to me, she goes, do you know what a snowflake means? I goes, well, I know what the terminology means when you do, but I take it as a compliment, because if you actually look at the snowflake and its fragility, it's actually a very strong and complex organism as such. It's built and its patterns are individual.
Yes.
And if you actually look at a snowflake under a microscope, under what it is, it's a very strong and empowering object. And I go, so the people who created this tag and name clearly haven't thought it through. So
no, that when people these names as well, like, because I've got an older, like I'm not gonna say people, but I've got an older generation who straight away are like, oh, you've got an easy life, you have, and you're too soft. And I think to myself, I'm like, it can be soft, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I am a softie. I am such a softie, very sensitive, and take things on, and I've got the world on my shoulder. But you know what? If you find your own way of coping with that, so when people say these words, it's so old-fashioned.
It is.
I think it's amazing that you're doing that. But well, I wanted to end on some self-promotion for you, so people know how to look at your. Have you got anything on YouTube or anything that people can watch, or any gigs that people can start booking in?
Yeah, there is a couple of things that people have put on YouTube under Leon the Pig Farmer. I think I'm battling for supremacy with the actual clips of the film from 1992. So there is a few. I've not got a YouTube channel yet. That is next on my list of when I've got all my other ducks in order. But you can find me. I've got a website, which is www.thepigfarmer.art. I've got Facebook, which is at Leon the Pig Farmer, which is mostly where a lot of my stuff goes, because I do a blog once, twice a week, and it automatically feeds off my website into Twitter and into Facebook. But I have an Instagram as well, which is at Leon the Pig, and the Pig Farmer on Twitter as well. And that's mostly, a lot of my videos are on the Facebook, to be honest. There is lots on there. And I think the more on there is because I post them more on Facebook. It seems to be more amenable for Facebook Live when promoters are putting festivals on. So it seems to be the better platform that promoters or people, when they're doing gigs, will use Facebook Live. So I say Facebook's the main place, but you can get links to all the other ones. All my links are on my website at thepigfarmer.art. And I've got loads of gigs coming up now. Now that we're starting to sniff the fresh air and start looking and put our head above the parapet, and pubs are looking at opening up in June or whatever fully. I've got a few gigs coming up. I think I've got a couple in July. August is almost booked up most weekends with a lot of stuff around Manchester. And I've just been speaking about a couple more gigs now. And then I get busy again after October, definitely November and December. I'm going to be flat out as well. So amazing. That's with the gig scene, but also the books come in. I'm going to do a book launch end of May for Talking Myself Out of Trouble, which is going to be 25 poems, some artwork off my friend. And then at the end, I'm going to put in 5 lyric sheets, which is stuff I've done with my partner. she's a multi-instrumentalist, and we've done stuff on Bandcamp called The Dirt, which is kind of linked to the pig farm, but it's called The Dirt. It's just grindy, looped, distorted, psychedelic guitars or electronic stuff. So I speak to her music. So there's stuff on Bandcamp as well, and that's The Dirt 71.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I'm going to be doing a lot of research after this. I already researched you and I'm going to research you more.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
So I'm keeping busy. There's plenty going on, either in the music side, which is just dormant at the moment because she's not here at the moment. So when she gets back here living with me, because she's Japanese, so she's back in Japan for a couple of months. So when she moves over here, The Dirt will start getting more traction and doing a lot more stuff. But Leon's raring to go and getting booked up, and also the Talk Himself Out of Trouble with charities. I'm keeping busy with that at the moment. So yeah, it's all hands on deck. It's busy. It's spreading that word that we're not limp, we're not weak. We are people that have just got nothing different to a sprained wrist or a broken leg, and you can't put a bandage on it. So put some creativity around it and
yes,
find your own mojo. I don't know what it is, but if I can just say this while I'm on, I hope I'm not feeding into too much time. But for instance, I met a bloke through my journey who's up at this Healthy Heroes, and he's an ex-squaddy. He's a builder, and now to help himself get through his abstinence through drink and drugs, he does 6 foot by 3 foot mosaics in tiles. So he projects an image onto a wall, draws it out, and then he tiles this massive mosaic in house tiles. So he's got his own creative angle that he found through trades that he's accumulated through the years as a builder, and he's got his own line. And another guy's got electronic stuff that he DJs and makes soundscapes. So it doesn't have to be word. It could be anything. It could be banging a drum. It could be playing 3 chords on a guitar. It could be anything you want to do. The world's, it's so much out there, I think, and it's finding your own niche, I think, and finding something that you can find solace in, and find that you can empty your brain and find some escape in and structure. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for your time. I am 100% knowing that you do gigs all around Manchester, get to be seeing your gigs and bringing people with me when I can,
Yeah,
obviously.
come out.